Yesterday we did the first half of the biur of Olam HaAtzilus. And today, Be'ez Hashem, we'll be able to complete that biur. So we've established how in Olam HaAtzilus, we've established, we're talking in the mashal of the Keiches HaNefesh, which since the Keiches of the Nefesh and Ishtalshul originate from and are modelled on the Esses Firas Atzilus, through understanding the Esses Keiches HaNefesh, we can understand better the Esses Firas of Atzilus. And we explained how the Esses Keiches HaNefesh are not the Nefesh itself. They're not Atzmiyim. Principle, idea of the Etzem is that it's Pashut and does not have a Tziyur Mukbul. And we went to great lengths to explain how the Esses Keiches HaNefesh have a Tziyur Mukbul, even not only because it's not only that Tziyur Mukbul that it acquires or it exhibits when it's mislabish in the goof, that even as keiches prior to their islabish in the goof, as the nefesh is lamaila, it also has a tziyur mugbul, albeit a tziyur mugbul that is be'ein areich to the tziyur mugbul that it acquires whilst it's in the body.
Is that how you say it? Albeit? It's not albeit.
No. And so we explained
Probably made by
that
Shakespeare.
we explained that it's a ha'ara. We explained that because it's a ha'ara, bilvad. Yeah? That was because it was a ha'ara bilvad. No, we didn't. That was when we were still talking about Atzilus. Sorry, I beg your pardon. That was previously. Good. So now we are at the top of Amud Mem Daled. And we're going to bring out another aspect of Keiches which further establish how they are not Etzem. So if we're talking more in ordinary atheists, a person's personality is not ultimately who they are. The personality, the Keiches HaNefesh, the sort of the definitions and the defining components of their personality, be it their intellectual makeup, their emotional makeup, all of those things are not fundamentally what they are. They are keiches of their nefesh, but they are not the etzem hanefesh. That's what we've been stressing till now. Toward the end of today's piece, we're going to create a sort of a middle space. Instead of something being either nefesh, either etzem, or not etzem, something separate, something different, something alternative, there's going to be a middle quality. What we're going to call, we're going to say that it may not be an atzmi, the keiches may not be atzmiyim, but they are nafshiyim. That's going to be an important distinction, but that's what we're going to get to today. Okay, top of the page. V'lochein anu royim shahakeiches yesh bahem shinuyim. And therefore, what do we see? Since the keiches are not atzmiyim, they're merely a ha'ara, we find that they also have shinuyim, they change. By way of example, we're going to start with the seichel. It's incomparable, the intellectual abilities of a child compared to an adult. A child is only able to grasp small ideas. Small in the sense of not very complex. Whereas the adult is able to comprehend more complex theories and ideas. Like it's in the Mishnah, like that. As one gets older, things the intellect is enhanced. So we see that a shinui in seichel. So the koyach hanefesh, chacham min hadas, the intellectual koyches, they evolve, they develop, they change over time. And the same is true also of emotions. Here we're talking how they change over time. A child gets excited, possibly in a positive sense or sometimes in a negative sense, over small matters. They're very positively excited about things of small value. And similarly, they get very angry about things that aren't so important. Whereas the adult would never desire the things that the child wants necessarily. The adult has a desire for things of greater value. They're able to develop a more sophisticated types of things that they aspire to and they wish, what they want for. Now, one of our principles, just like it called etzem bilti mischalik, that was one principle we brought at the beginning of this section, that an etzem is pashut and doesn't have a tzir mugbul, because called etzem bilti mischalik and bilti mispashit, yeah? Similarly, called etzem bilti mishtana. Something is an atzmi, it doesn't change. And if we've now established, and we know it to be a fact, that koiches do change, that itself is a proof that they are not the atmas hanefesh. Ki im ha'ara levad, and are just a ha'ara of the nefesh, and are not the etzem hanefesh. Fair? Now, it's going to do the same thing we did last time when we brought this argument. We said, but isn't the shinui all coming about because of the kelim? It's not mitzad the koiches themselves. It's impact that the kelim have on the koyach. The evrei haguf, as a person matures, their brain becomes more able, their heart becomes more able, and even in the same day, if a person's in a good mood, meaning that if their sort of their state of mind is settled, they're able to understand things better. If they're stressed, their brain, they're not able to understand things. So all those shinuyim are coming about through the matzav haguf. If you eat well, you have chamra v'reicha pikchen, right? You're going to have your good spicy wine and tasty wine. You're going to be able to understand things better. It's got nothing to do with the koyach. It's the extent to which the koyach is able to be misgal in the guf. So that's our argument we're going to say. And then we're going to say, but afal pikein, nevertheless, it's also mitzad the koyches as well that you have these shinui. It's not just because of the guf, even though the guf does play a major part in it. Okay? Now, even though these differences in the koiches come about because of the kelim, which are the limbs of the body, like the example that we gave about a child comprehending merely immature and sort of simple ideas. It's because they have a small brain. Their brain is undeveloped. But an adult who has a fully developed brain is able to grasp more things. Is able to be a suitable means by which to grasp greater intellectual ideas. And that's why he's able to comprehend more complex theories. And just like you find in adults, you don't have to make a comparison between adults and children. In adults themselves, there's differences between people. Some people are more intelligent, some people are less intelligent. That's because different people have different qualities of their brains. People who have more broad-minded, are able to comprehend things better. They have a greater expression of their keich hanefesh. The eir hanefesh, the keich hachachma bin vadas, is expressed in them to a greater extent. And they have a much more. They're much more ruik. They're much more settled. They're able to tolerate opposing ideas much more than someone who's of a small intellect. That when he comes across to opposing theories, that he is unable to maintain those two theories at the same time. So one or the others, it develops into much more dogmatic thinking. And that generally is how we differentiate between someone who is a cotton, someone who's a godel. It's not just cotton and godel in age, it can be cotton and godel in ability. And all of these are reflections of the quality of the kli. The kli is what determines the extent to which the person's oir haseichel is going to be expressed in that person. Whether the person is a cotton or a godel, either in age or in ability, there's no difference in the oir. The difference is in the kelim. By both of them, the oir is the same. Elishu behelim. It's just that it's behelim. In the godel, it's not so much behelim, it's less behelim, and in the cotton, it's extremely behelim. Even in the cotton, all of these abilities are there behelim. And it's only when they develop their moichin, when a person works on their brain to develop their abilities, then they can do better through hard work. A person can bring these keiches mina helam ela gilui.
What is the keli about? His spiritual keli or the physical keli?
Physical keli, your brain.
And is that proved? And science agrees with that, right? That you'll like smart people, their brains are more dense, right? Well, that's how it is. So would that be a shenef keli?
I don't know what the current theories are in neuroscience about the differences in brain power. The point, I don't think you need to rely on that over here to understand the point he's making here. The point he's making here is that in a sentient human being, a person with seichel, okay, you have people with seichel. The expression of seichel means it's in the nefesh. There's a koyach called chachma. There's a koyach called bin, and there's a koyach called das. We've already established that the tziyum mugbul of chachma, bin, and das of seichel is in the koyach mitzad atzmai, even before it's mislabish in the guf. The way the neshama is lamayla, it also has seichel. It's able to misplain on the gadlus habeira and be ma'ira avenira and have all of these koyches hanefesh. The koyches hanefesh are aspects of the nefesh. The nefesh has them. Yeah? If it's mislabish in the body, those koyches hanefesh are expressed through various limbs in the body, the different koyches and different limbs. So the example of seichel is it's mislabish in the moyach hagashmi, the physical brain. Now, when you have a child, the brain is not yet fully developed when they're born. There's a process of development of the brain from a young age until 20 plus, right? Certain parts of the brain have not yet fully formed till even into a person's 20s. So understandably, the koyach hanefesh of seichel can't be, will not be as revealed, or would not have just doesn't have a keli for it in a person who's younger than compared to someone who's older. And similarly, as people continue to utilize their brains, there are ways in which there are methods of which to enhance the ability of the brain. Just from diet, through exercise, different things. You can impact the functioning of the physical brain, and that makes it into a better or a worse keli people can take certain drugs and they can damage brain cells, right? So there's all different ways in which the kli hamoyach will have an impact on the gilui of the oir hanefesh, the oir haseichel. Yeah. But the vort he wants to say here is the emphasis is on the kli, on the moyach hagashmi. It's on the physical brain. It's not so. The difference between people is not so significant in the oir haseichel. The significance is the degree to which it's niskala in the kli haseichel. The shinuyim between people is much better explained by the differences in the keli than it is in the oir. Not denying that maybe there'll be more. There might be differences, but fundamental, the main differences you'll see with people in their intellectual abilities is to do with the kli hamoyach. And when it comes to the oir haseichel, the oir haseichel has a wide range of abilities, and it's the degree to which those abilities are going to be behelim, and it's just not going to be manifest in that human being, or it is going to be manifest. So it's helam and gilui of a koyach. It's not the existence of a koyach, it's whether it's behelim or whether it's begilui. So when a child is young, of course it's not going to be able to do the things that it can do when it's older. But already from the young age, if things are going well, it's an indication of the extent to which something can be niskal. Like we have in the Gemara, like it quotes now in the Gemara, "V'lachein butzim mekatve yediyah," that from butzin are like courgettes, and from mekatve when they blossom. Have you ever seen a growing a courgette? So when a courgette grows at the beginning, it has this like beautiful flower. It's like a very interesting flower. So it says before it's even grown, from the flowering, yediyah, it's already noticeable like what the quality of the courgette or the zucchini or the gourd or whatever it is. Those types of vegetables, they're very beautiful.
In French.
They're very beautiful flowering. So it's like that's what the Gemara says. They're talking about the kid who answered the question very well. So from a child, you can already you can already tell that something's going to. So it was said about the Rebbe Rashab from the Hayim Yom yesterday about why did Hashem reveal himself to Abraham and not reveal himself to me? So when the Rebbe talks about in the Sichas, he's always saying butzim mikat v'yidiyah. In the Sicha by Yerim and base, there was already indication of what was to become when someone at 4 years old is asking that type of question. Yeah?
Yeah.
So why are you able to know what's going to become, just like you know with these vegetables, you know what's going to become of them? How comes you can know from the child that what's going to become them? Because you can be confident that they have behelim, the ability. So what we might see from this is actually from mitzad the oir, there's no difference. What's the difference? Is that either it's begilui, it's behelim. The shinu is mitzad the keli. The shinu is predominantly because of the mayach hagashmi. So why are we saying that one of the proofs that keiches are not atzmiyim is because kol etzem built in mishtana and keiches are mishtanim? No, the keiches are not mishtanim, they're the same. It's just a matter of whether they're behelim or begilui. But they themselves are the same. The difference is in the keli, in the physical brain. And you can make the same argument when it comes to a person's emotional consciousness. Why would a person have different emotional responses? That will be a reflection of the person's emotional sort of state, their heart, which we metaphorically refer to as. The Misha Liboy Rechava, someone who has a broad heart, just like the person who had a Meich Rechava. A person is able to have a full array of emotional responses to things, and it can be calmly reflected emotions, because they're not. They have the keli in which to contain those feelings. A person is not going to get too excited about something of small value. Look at the bottom, the Ksaviyat suggested it should be kli halev. When a person has a very, not very, they feel very fakvetched. Person stressed and agitated, they're going to get agitated about everything.
What's mekavitz?
Kuvitz just means squeezed.
Squeezed and limited?
Yeah. The person can get bothered about all the small things. Because the feelings are unable to become settled, and it's not a good match. The Eira Midlis is not a good match for this particular Kli Alev. So Gam Kin Hef Shpin Kotten Negodin. That's also the difference between an adult and a child. Adults don't get so excited about things because they have greater capacity in their heart to experience emotional settings. Whereas the child, because they have a much more limited capacity, that's why they also get excited and respond to things of not such significance. When it comes to the Eira Midas, it's not just the way the Midas are manifest in a person, which is different between a child and an adult, but the actual Eira Midas, the Keach HaChesed and the Keach HaGvur and the Keach HaTiferes in a person's nefesh, there's no difference in a Kotten and a Godel. And the difference is only because of the Keli. So, complete parallel with the Seichel and the Midas. Right? That's the argument. So he says, no. In truth, really, Hari Sof Kol Sof, at the end of the day, Yeshinu B'ha'oiris B'helim V'gilu Shlahem. There is a shinui. You can't deny that there's no shinui. What is the shinui? Previously it was B'helim, and now it's B'gilu. There are different stages and different in a person's life, from childhood to adulthood, and even within adulthood, there's a range of experiences which reflect the fact that the Keiches HaNefesh are sometimes in a state of Helam and sometimes in a state of Gilum. That in itself is a Shinui. To be in a state of Helam or to be in a state of Gilum. Shemitchila heim beHelam v'achar kach heim begilum. Even though the reason, the cause of this is not themselves, but rather it's the Kalim. There is a difference in the Oy. Ve-Aravah. This is the point. Not only is this not a good raya faket, not only is this not a good way of disproving our point to try and say that the keiches are not atzmiyim, that because there's shinuyim in the keiches, that's a proof they're not atzmiyim. We've just tried to slug that up by saying, no, really, it's all coming inside the kelim. And now we're not just trying to wiggle our way out of it and say, even though it's inside the kelim, there's also a little bit of, this shinui of Helam and Gilu is, you can still call it a shinui, but it's maybe not as strong as when we expressed it in the previous paragraph. No, Adarabba. This itself, this whole line of thinking and this explanation we've given has not only not weakened our argument, it strengthened our argument. It's showing that what? The Keiches HaNefesh experience a process of going mi'helam el hagilui, which has nothing to do with the etzem HaNefesh. Why? When we talk about Giluyim Me'anefesh, manifestations of the soul, expressions of the soul, we're talking about something going from a state of Halam to a state of Gilu. What is a Gilu? A gilui is revealing something that was previously not revealed. It's an action, right? It's a pa'ula.
Right.
So with, if you're going to say, well, it's not such. The only shinui is from a helam el gilui. Oh, you've just proved the point. If it's a shinui helam el gilui, then you're saying it's only a ha'ara bilvad. It's only giluyim. It's not etzem. That fundamentally establishes it not to be an inyan atzmi. Because kol etzem bilti misgala, kol etzem bilti mischalik, kol etzem bilti mishtana. So in our attempt to prove that kol etzem bilti mishtana and that the keiches have a shinui of helam and agilui, we've proven another point.
Yeah.
That they're not atzmiyim because they're giluyim. The whole process of gilui and helam only applies to ha'ara. And that's how we see it manifest. In some people, there's different degrees. Even the same person, there's different degrees to which they're keiches and iskala, and between people, there's different degrees. And even within the same person, they can have different moments, even in the same day, of different giluye hakoiches. This whole process of giluy and helam hakoiches, which is fundamental to keiches, intrinsic to keiches, is itself a raya that they're not atzmiyim. Because aval im hayu atzmiyim, hari ba etzim en shaykh ininam shochem helam lagiluy. Ela oy shu behelam legamri. It's not a matter of helam and gilui. V'nimtza. So to conclude this paragraph, shemizeh sheyeshinu ba'akeiches behelam v'gilui muvan sheklalusum hurak b'hispashtus ha'or levad haba me'ahelam elagilui. So we've proven that these shinuyim in the keiches, the shinui of helam and gilui, are proof that they are not atzmiyim. They're just a ha'ara min hanefesh. They're not the nefesh. They are an impression of the nefesh, a reflection of the nefesh. Okay? But whilst we were saying this, we did concede the point that the shinuyim in the keiches are brought about mitzad hakelim. We're now in the next paragraph going to say even that's not the case. That even within the in the eiris themselves, in the keiches hanefesh, the eira seichel and the eira midos, there are shinuyim mitzad the eiris, not just mitzad the kelim. Ube'emes on top of memhei, ube'emes on umeitzim shinui the helam v'gilui ba'keiches mitzad keiches atzmon. These changes that can happen from helam to gilui in the keiches is not just because they come in mislabish in the Avri Aguf, and the Avri Aguf, based on their own limitations, determine the extent to which those keiches hanefesh can be niskal in them. No, the keiches themselves have a process of helam to gilui mitzad the keiches themselves. Eino toli ba'kelim klal, which has nothing to do with the kelim. It's known, and it's worth your while checking up these Marim Kemis. You'll see from the Haaretz, because here he says it very briefly. That in order for that to be an expression of intellectual understanding and awareness and comprehension, that depends on the keich harotzin. She'im yitzeh ba'inyan, os yaska b'yaskolis. The person has a desire, a wish, a motivation to comprehend certain ideas, then they'll understand them. If there's a disinterest, there is no interest in the thing you're studying, then the chances of you understanding it and not being able to innovate in that field of study is very unlikely. The way it says, what should you learn? You should learn the things that you have a chayfetz for, you have a desire for. because that is a means by which to reveal because when you have an interest and a desire to succeed in a particular field of study, then automatically you're going to be much better at that field of study. And not just the relationship of rotzin to seichel. Sometimes you have an interest in something, it's like the same thing. Sometimes you have an interest and another interest. It's not constant. The person's motivation and interest can wax and wane. There's another koyach which influences the extent to which a person has an interest in it, and that means whether your rotzen is going to be behelim or begili. And that is the koyach of das, which is even higher than rotzen. Again, kedai looking that up to understand that. You can call it. So das is the attachment to the thing, the iskashus to the thing, right? Or the hakara in the thing, the awareness of its profundity. That determines the degree to which you're going to have an interest in the thing. The more obvious it is to you that something is valuable, the more obvious it is to you, or the more effort you make to focus on something, the more likely you're going to have an interest in that thing. So das influences the ratzin. So the nimtza. So we can conclude from that. So there is a process of a helam and gilui in the keiches, which has nothing to do with the kelim. There is a process within the keiches themselves. The sibas giluyam hu hakeiches l'maylam. The reason why they be more expressed and apparent is because of a keich which is superior to it and has a power over it to determine how it should be expressed. And just like we said, that a person's intellectual abilities are determined very much by their rotzin, their interest, their desire in a thing. The more a person is interested in something, the more they're going to succeed in comprehending that field of study. Making gilu harotzin tol b'das, and just like we said, similarly with rotzin, depends on das. The extent to which you're going to attach yourself, connect to it, focus on something, is going to determine, will also determine your motivation and interest in that thing. So from this we can conclude. The keiches have a process of shinui mehelam el agili, which shows that they have shinuyim. And we know that comes mitzad atzma. And it also proves that it's a ha'ara, because the etzem is einem iskalim mehelam el agili. So he calls them movement. Shakeiches einam atzmiyim ki im hispashtus ha'ara levad. It's not the etzem, it's not the substance of the thing, it's ha'ara of the thing. It's an impression of the thing. It's a reflection of the thing. Yeah?
And Atzmi hasn't got anything behelim.
It has everything behelim. Or everything begilim. Predominantly everything behelim.
So why can't we say that the helim of the keiches is boti mishtana?
Because it is mishtana, because it can become niskal.
Well, from the atzmis you get the keiches, right? So the gili of the etzem hanafesh is the keich. The etzem nefesh also has a hiskalus.
It's one thing. When we say a gilui ha'ara of the nefesh, yeah, is merely a ha'ara of the nefesh. Now, obviously, what it's going to be reflecting is the etzem of some sort, but it's only a reflection of it. It's not that thing itself.
Right, so what is the helim if there's no gili from it?
The categories of helim and gilu as they apply to the etzem are going to be complete of a different order than in the giluyim, because it's not fundamental to its thing. What is it? As we've always said, an atzmi is the thing the way it is legabi itself. A gilui is the way the thing is legabi azulas.
And the helm of a koyach is legabi azulas.
Well, since that helm is a helm hashayich el gilui, then yes, it's just happens to be at the present moment. It's not begilui, but it's not.
Isn't that every helm? Every helm can be a gilui, it just isn't at the moment.
No, there's a helm atzmi. Things are fundamentally a helm. No, it's different. It'll be a different order. No. Here, you sometimes, when you're talking about helm, when you're talking about helm in the context of gilui, then it's different to when we're talking about the more fundamental helm, like a helm atzmi, which is shaykh, which is what the etzem is. It's undiscoverable.
Is it like what you're saying?
A person, say for example, in human interactions, yeah? In human interactions, I can know something about you. What can I know about you? So there's the very superficial things. I can know how tall you are, the color of your eyes, right? Then more pneumistic things. So you can say, I know your emotional abilities, your intellectual abilities. I know the way you think. I've got a sense of things you're interested in. So even your ratzin, what you desire, tainug, certain quality of yourself. But there's an element of you that is not accessible to me. It's not revealable. There's not like sort of if I get to know you better and better and better, then I'll know everything. I'll only ever know giluyim. I'll never know your etzem. It's not that, okay, there's definitely parts of your giluyim that are still behelim. I don't know. I know a small portion of maybe your koiches hanefesh, the way they're neskala. But if I get to know you better, I can know them better. So it's maybe behelim, but it's a helim which is discoverable, possibly. But there's a part of you that I can't. Your etzem, it's not discoverable.
Right.
I'm not privy to that. It's not shayach el agilui. It's not shayach el azulas. Because the very definition of this etzem is lagabi itself.
The fact that you know something, then it's proof that it's not the etzem.
Or etzem.
Kol gilui. Kol gilui.
Oh, sorry. Etzem.
Is a helam lagabi. Yeah. So.
Will you never ever find or figure out a helam atzmi then? Never.
It's a different subject.
It's
a different subject.
An underworld that we don't know about.
An overworld, an inner world. But
The world.
But we'll do that. I wouldn't say that so absolutely, but that's just a different topic for the moment. Okay. You understand? So we spent a good arichas explaining that in the keiches hanefesh, the keiches hanefesh are horrible bad. They're not atzmiyim. They have shinuyim. They have min hahelem el agilui. They have a tziyum mugbul, and all this applies not just to the keiches hanefesh the way they mislabish naguf. They're true to the keiches hanefesh misad atzma. Yeah, that's what we said. So the middle paragraph, va'acha kol zeh, va'achri kol zeh. So after all of this, ima yoy shakeiches einam atzmiyim, and we've argued convincingly that the keiches are not atzmiyim. Mikol makeim, nevertheless, they're not at the same time nifrodim. They're not completely separate. They may not be the etzem, but they're not completely distinct and nothing to do with it. We're going to call them harihim nafshiyim. Use this term nafshiyim. They're of the nefesh. They're nefeshdik. Dahaim. What does that mean? She'eino muhus achem nefesh. They're not of a different order than the nefesh. A different order of entity. Ki im heim muhus echad. Rather, they are of the same muhus as the etzem nefesh. Ela shehin ha'ara levad. But they are the ha'ara. Shebezehim chalukim nefesh v'rachuk ekom ha'odin. In that way, they are distinct from the nefesh, and they are distinctly other than the nefesh. Shezeh etzem v'zeh ha'ara. They're different things. But they are of the muhus nefesh. Shanefesh hu chai be'etzem. The nefesh is because it's an atzmi. It's chai be'etzem. It's fundamentally alive. It's not alive because something else is making it alive. It itself is life. So anything, we have a principle that anything that's chai be'etzem is a chai lahachiyos. That not the Eibishter, it's not muchrach in a gilui, but say like something that is alive, it will emit life. So anything that is a chai be'etzem will have his spashus, will give off life. Not b'derech his askus, b'derech memelu. Not as if the etzem nefesh is busy enlivening other things, but by being life, it will have ha'ara. Its ha'ara would be life. So the keiches hanefesh are, so to speak, the inevitable byproduct of there being an etzem nefesh. The etzem nefesh is a chai be'etzem. So a byproduct of that is you have keiches hanefesh, which is a ha'ara of that nefesh, of that inyan. And they're in a state of absolute connection with the nefesh. Just like every oir is dovuk in ma'oir, right? Shekol oir hu dovuk ba'amoir. She'im leikein lo yahayuk v'oiv mekeilah. Because if it wasn't dovuk in its makir, if it wasn't dovuk in the ma'oir, it wouldn't be like the ma'oir. It wouldn't have all the qualities of the ma'oir. Again, looking up all these makeiros. So oir, and in this case the oir hanefesh, the keichet, which is the keiches hanefesh, as they are before them mislavish in kelim, you can't say they are the etzem hanefesh, but you can't say at the same time that they have nothing to do with the nefesh. They're nothing of it. They're sort of a little bit. They're in between. They're what we call nafshim. They are inevitable byproducts of there being a nefesh. That when there's a nefesh, there's going to be a ha'aras hanefesh, and the ha'aras hanefesh is going to be dovuk in the ma'oir, because it's a oir, and the oir called oir is dovuk in the ma'oir, and it's going to have the qualities of the ma'oir. So it's you have a painting, you have the original, and then you have people make copies. You can get a printed copy, or even you do people that physically paint it, so it should be exactly like the original. In order for it to be a replica, right? In order for it to be a replica, what does it have to have? It has to have all the qualities of the original.
Right.
But is it the original?
No.
And does it cost as much as the original?
No.
Sometimes in a manner of ein areich, right? You can have an original, and then you have the copy, the replica. So the oir, it's obviously not comparable because the replica in this instance is a dover nifred from the original. But in some ways, it's dovuk in the ma'oir. It's dovuk in the original. It has to be there has to be a dvekus of the replica to the original, right? It has to have a dvekus in the color, in the brush strokes, in all of the components that made the original. The original, this replica has to replicate that. But it's only a ha'ara from it. only a ha'ara. It's not the real thing. And if the replica is a very good example, there's lots of holes in that mashal. Using a replica, it's not really dovuk in the sense that we're talking about over here. But to appreciate this sort of middle ground, you have etzem and you have zulas, and the oir is not really other than the etzem. It's mimhus echad of the etzem. And it's what we're going to call in this instance nafshiyim. Okay?
Kirchus hanefesh with that? Comes into that category?
We're saying that's what we're talking about. Kirchus nefesh.
So,
Nafshiyim. That's what we just said, no?
so you said kirchus?
HaKirchus einam atzmiyim, mikomokim him nafshiyim. That's the point, yeah? Okay. So that's all the mashal. Now we've got the nimshal. The whole point of this mashal was to understand the Esespheres of Atzilus. Ba'anim shemikol zeh yuvim ba'olam ha'atzilus. Sha'oiris ha'atzilus ein b'chinas ispashus ha'or levad me'ein seif ha'matzah. Just like the Keichel HaNefesh are ispashus ha'or of the Etzem HaNefesh, so too the Oiris of Atzilus are a ha'ora from the Ein Seif ha'matzah. And that's why they have ischalkus, because they're only a ha'ara. Etzem built in ischalik, but these are ha'aras, so they are mischalik. And even though, just like in the case of Keichus HaNefesh, the ikke ischalkus, the ikke division and definition of each of the keichas separate from each other, chachma from bina, from etc., is mitzad the kelim. The inyan chachma v'chesed shaykh ba'kelim. The notions of chachma and chesed are specifically relevant and substantiated in the kelim. Ba'kelim ha'moisim tzir ba'oiren is the kelim which calls a description, a tzir, a definition in the oir. Sheyir gamkim b'chinas chachma and chesed. The oir should also be in that category. So it's an impact of the kelim. Even then, it's not really a tzir in the oir. It's not something that becomes defining in the oir. It's more that it appears that way, and behaves according to the kelim. Not in this oir. It really is now chachma, and it really is now bina. Like we explained in other places from the mashal in the Pardes about the windows, the different colored glasses, and how the light appears like that, but it's not something that's nikna in the oir. This is going to be a very important statement I'm going to talk about at the end of this paragraph. That reference to the Pardes. Really, the oir is a pshutim, just like the Keichel HaNefesh a pshutim. Legabe the kelim. That's my addition. Really, in the Eiris, there too is Chacham and Chesed, just like we said with the Keichel HaNefesh.
It's not your addition, you're going to see in the next sentence.
Again, I never. You become the text, you're the text. You'll realize why I'm being careful what I'm saying here, what I'm saying and what the text is saying, because there's a shtickle machlekes
between you and the text,
between me and Yossi about what the pshat is here. I'll explain in a second. From the kelim's perspective, the Eiris are like their pshutim, but fundamentally in the Eiris they also have the tziyur of some sort. For sure, in the Keichel HaNefesh, like we said above, their definition is nothing like the definition that's acquired by them when they enter into the body. And therefore they're called pshutim, but only relatively to the Avrim. But for sure, even before them, Islabish in the Guf, there's already a distinction of Keiches, Chachma and Chesed v'chuli. So, the same thing is true in Atzilus and the Eiris. Even though they're Pashut in relation to the Kelim, they still have a tziyur of some sort of chachma and chesed. Haim lefi she'em b'chinas is pashus ha'or levad means because they're only ha'ara l'chin shaykh behem b'chinas is chalkus b'chinas tziyur as is first, and that's why shaykh that they should have these this tziyur mugbu, these defining characteristics of being like chachma and chesed. Now the issue over here is like this. There's a big machlekes in Kabbalah about whether the Eiris are pshutim or mitziyarim. If you really want to delve fully into it, you can go to Sefer Erchin, Eiris, Eirin Sefer Eir, Mitziyarim. It's a long issue, and in different. Ordinarily, Chassidus would say, and even in the Samach Vav, it would say that the Eiris of Pshutim, and by the Ein Beis, it moves more into being Mitzvah. So this is, if you listen to Yossi's Shiurim, so he brings down the whole thing. Very nice. He explains it very nicely, the whole issue. There's one big shir on this, and it's very nice. So his shaila is the chayra over here. What's it saying? First of all, this is Ranatz. This is before the Ein Beis. So he wants to kvetch because it says in the bracket over here, Mavu al Zeb Pardas, brings the moshel from the Pardas. The fact that he even mentions the Pardas is a raya that he's still going according to the shit of the Eiris of Pshuta. Even though he tries to kvetch into the word, he admits it's dachuk, but he feels hampered a lot by this reference to the power. Why is he bring the reference to the power? He could have brought a reference to other things. But I think he moves. It seems to me, if you really, he goes beyond the pardas. But I feel like Yossi's got a hagbola that he feels that he can't say these things until later. The Rebbe Shah doesn't say these things till later. It's too early for him to be saying it.
To what there is a
The Eiris are not pshutim. The Eiris are mitziyarim, like he's saying over here. It seems so. He's saying over here. He's not saying that. I just don't know how he fetches it into the words. But then the question for me would be, why is he bringing a mashal from the pardas? Good question. It's very kedai to listen to that shir, Yossi. You'll hear the whole the problem. It's good to know what the problem is, but I think he gets a bit stuck too hard on trying to say that here's pshutim, and I didn't find it convincing his svara. But could be, if we gave the shirim a long time ago, it could be he's changed his mind. There could be, I don't know. But if you want to see the other side, the other opinion, I'd go and listen. I can't remember what number share it is.
Probably 3.
Give it a listen. So are we good? So we've just we had the moshul, now we have the nimshul. But now it's going to say, just like we said with the nimshul, the moshul, that even though they're not atzmiyim, they're nafshiyim, similarly the Eiris of Atzilus, they may not be etzem ha'oir, they may just be a ha'ara bilvad, they may have ischalkus, and all of that, but they're still elokus. They're elokim, they're godly. Just like the keichas nefesh, a soulful, a nafshim, nefeshtik. The Eiris of Atzilus, and even the Kelim of Atzilus, are elokus. Like the famous Simon Chof. Yeah? Omnam Kashem, top of the member of Omnam Kashem Shnis Boy B'Moshel the Keichas HaNefesh. Just like is explained in the Moshel that we had Keichas HaNefesh, Ima Yosem Ha'ara, even though they are only a Ha'ara, and they're not Etzem, Mikol Maknehim Dvukim Be'etzem, they're still attached, cleaving to the Etzem HaNefesh, V'heim Nafshi Mamish, and therefore they're of the Nefesh. The same thing can be understood regarding the Eiris of Atzilus. They are dovek in their makir, they ain't safe amaitzel. They mahus elikus mamish, and therefore they are also elikus. Acha gamis lapshus bekenim ein mahus ischalkusam. Ein mahus ischalkus latziyush. We said a clean nikna be'em b'chinas kinyan atzmichuli. All of the tziyurim, the additional sort of definitions that is acquired by the oir when it's mislabish in the guf, is not acquired in a fundamental way. meaning that becomes its the identity in the oir itself. The etzem of that oir is not that thing, that level of tzir and that level of akbala. It's more of circumstantial. Whilst it's mislabish in this thing, it behaves in that way. Like it says in Kabbalah, that you can have a switching of to things to the other spheres. Ja, die brings the dergelijke zeggen. Nou, like je hebt dergelijke zeggen, ja. Ik liep het toch zijn. Eira chesed blikei agvura, eira agvura blikei chesed. The eir is able to mislabish on different kelim because the hagbola that it acquires in the kelim is be'ein aroich to the hagbola that it has misaratzmai. Ainu shal eira mislabish blikei chesed yuchel hachli v'sakli mislabish blikei agvura, such that an eir which was in the kli chesed is able to switch into a kli agvura.
So it doesn't make a problem sharing mitzvah where it says that Hashem, the Eir is indifferent, and if you pray to Hashem, Hashem can take the Eir Chesed and make it into Eir Gvura. So that's what's saying over here, because it's Ben Eir. But there is a difference. Still.
There's still a difference, even we think even before it's mislabish, yes. Chena Eir mislabish b'kli agvura, yuchel mislabish b'kli chesed, and the same thing to reverse. B'ainu lefishem elikus mamish, because they are elikus. Gam hakelim that zilus hemalikus mamish. Not just the eiras, even the kelim are also elikus. Elish shaykh b'minyan chachma v'chesed, but different to the eir. There is shaykh inyan chachma v'chesed. Hainu mipnei sheim b'chinas koyach hagvul, because they are the koyach hagvul. K'mish gos v'avidus hakodesh. The ein seif u'shleimus b'kula. The kshem sheish koyach b'vilti b'agvul. Kach yish koyach b'gvul. It says ni avidus hakodesh. May even Gabbai. That Ein Seif Ishleimus V'Kula has all perfections. So just like as a Keich Bligul, as a Keich Gvul, V'Hagvul Animtzim Mimenu Tchilei Makin Natzilus. And what is this Gvul of the Ein Seif? That is that they are the Kelim of Atzilus. Avon Mikol Makim Harim B'Chinas Keich Gvul Shebe Ein Seif. They may be Keich Gvul, but it's not a problem because of the Keich Gvul of the Ein Seif. Keich Gvul Shebe Ugamkin Elikus Mamish. And this Koyach Agvul is because Mamish Koyach Agvul. Like if you look in the Tanya, Simon Chaf, the Arichas, and the Hasbar, which we've gone through another time. It's not Koyach Mugbul, it's Koyach Magbil, Chuli. From the Samach Tzedek in the end of the Bia V'Shavsa, at the end of Derech Mitzvah. Good. So let's just finish the section. And this is the biur of what Olam Hatzilus is. And that's what it says in the Yeshaya. Kol hanikra b'shmi, all those who are called by my name. It's a ha'ara from the Ein Seif. And this ha'ara is not muhus ache, but rather is also elikus, b'miuchedes, b'mekeira, and is fundamentally one and attached to its market. The Iva chayuichad, the Iva gamuichad, both the Eid and the Kalim are all chad with the Eibishter. The Bechinas ha'Eiros, the Bechinas ha'Kalim, yuchadim elikus. Eine be'ein seif ha'maitzu, b'tachas ha'yichud. Okay, so that is the beginning of the long journey that we're going to take. So remember, let's just make sure we have our context here. It says in the Medrash that Hashem wished to create the world midas hadin. He saw the world was unable to maintain itself, so he should have been midas harachmin. We want to know why would the Eibishter want to create the world midas hadin. In Shuvah Yisrael, we gave an explanation that it was because the Eibishter wanted obedience on the one hand, also he wanted perfect avodah, and also wanted to be able to ensure that there should be dir b'tachtonim and amshachas ha'atzmos lamata. And that would all been achieved by having midas hadin, because midas hadin would have been a very stern, exacting presence of the Eibishter in the world, which would have facilitated that Seder Avodah, Smol Deicha, Chuli. In this Maim in ve-Aravah, we're giving a different view, that the Midas Hadin is the way the Eibishter was mitzamtzim himself to hide himself. So what does that mean? So in order to understand that, we have to understand the whole nature of the whole structure of existence, which broadly speaking is Atzilus. Sorry. Yeah.
What?
So broadly speaking, that is Olam Atzilus Bri Yitzir Asiyah, is expressed in the pasuk in Yishai Kol Nikol B'Shmil Yifredi B'Rasav Yitzasaf Afasisiv, and we're going to explain Atzilus Bri Yitzir Asiyah, and in that way understand the manner in which were the world to be created, Midas Adin, what it would have looked like. So first of all, we explained Birin in Olam Atzilus. Olam Atzilus is we understood by way of the Keiches, the Moshel Keiches HaNefesh. That just like the Keiches HaNefesh, the Eidos and Kelim of Atzilus are a Ha'ara Bilvad from the Eirin Seif HaMaitzil, but they are still Dvukim B'Mekeiram, and therefore are Elikus. Yeah, that's where we're up to. And next time we'll be able to start the explanation of what is Olam Biyah.